And it was a busy weekend with big developments that unfolded, with news on a militia group that is allegedly being armed by Israel to challenge Hamas's terror rule in Gaza, and the recovery of a hostage in Rafah. Let's discuss all of it. Here to help us out today is Jonathan Conricus, former IDF spokesperson and a senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Shalom.
We first got official confirmation about this Gaza militia group Israel has been arming to combat and challenge Hamas rule in Gaza just late last week. But the head of the clan, Abu Shabab, is finally starting to speak out about this now, denying reports he's actually working with the Israelis. Tell us what you know about this group. How can a group like this be beneficial to Israel and possibly challenge Hamas?
Well, you know, in war, the use of proxy organizations and basically supporting the enemies of your enemy is not a new or original Israeli practice. That it has been done by many warring sides throughout history. So we're not seeing something unique. CIA, KGB, the French, the Brits have all been using the same practices and the same tactics. I think it's important to mention, and the Russians as well, I think it's important to mention that it's not always a successful endeavor. There are many examples in history of where this hasn't achieved the goals that they were trying to achieve. So I'm cautious and skeptic about how successful it will be. I do agree, however, with the Prime Minister that the supreme goal is to dismantle Hamas, to defeat Hamas, and arming and helping other organizations in Gaza to fight Hamas is a positive thing. Now, I understand that this group is now under domestic Palestinian pressure because nobody in Gaza wants to be perceived as if they're acting at the behest of Israel. That's a very dangerous thing. That's not good for domestic policies, and I'm sure that's why we're seeing now the latest statements. And I'm also reading reports from credible Israeli sources that this Shabab, Ali Shabab, has strong ties with the Palestinian Authority, documented ties with the intelligence officials at the Palestinian Authority. So it's a complex picture, but that is really very much what war is. You work in the shadows, you work out in the open. Sometimes it works and achieves what you want. Sometimes it doesn't. We'll have to be patient and see if this new little Palestinian militia will do good for Israel and for Gazan civilians.
Right. There's a lot of complexities to this. How long do you think Israel has been actually arming a group like this, and what do you think the overall objective is? You mentioned some ties with the PA there, but could Israel possibly be seeing them as a group that could be in power someday, or could this somehow blow up in Israel's face?
No, I think we have to look at this in the right proportions. We're talking about a very small and local group that is, as your report said, is affiliated with Bedouins and of Bedouin heritage. That in itself is a limiting factor in terms of achieving more than local control in any Gaza environment, because the Bedouins are a small minority. They are not the dominant tribes and the dominant families, not in the south and not in the center and not in Gaza City. So I think this is much more of a local endeavor. I wouldn't be surprised if there are other efforts that are being undertaken by Israeli security forces in central and northern parts of Gaza. That would make sense. And basically what Israel is doing, if we zoom out and look at this strategically, what Israel is doing is trying to apply pressure on Hamas on all fronts. There's limited military pressure, not all out and not massive yet. There is humanitarian pressure, which Israel is applying by introducing this new mechanism that provides food to Gazans without the food going through the hands of Hamas and the UN, which in this case are part and parcel of the same thing, the Hamas and the UN. And that's additional pressure on Hamas's ability to continue to govern over the Gaza Strip. And we now see that Israel is also trying to bring about armed opposition against Hamas, and there's a very good reason to do that. Today, we also saw videos of a public execution, penal measures that Hamas thugs executed a Palestinian in plain sight in Gaza, in southern Gaza, for defying the orders of Hamas or for otherwise not being a disciplined citizen, and we could see the very brutal execution by Hamas, and that's why it's so important to have anywhere there's any possibility to undermine the strength and the governance of Hamas. That's definitely a claim, and that's something that Israel needs to be doing.
Thank you so much for your perspective on all this as these developments continue to change throughout the days. Appreciate it.
Thank you.